Welcome back to our Wednesday book study of the Gospel according to Thomas. And got some good stuff this week. Really good stuff. Happy about that. And thank you for showing up again. Good to see you all. We are suddenly in t-shirt weather. I mean, it's like overnight. I'm wearing long sleeves, cold. Now, I'm sweating a little bit. We don't have air conditioning. In Maine, we're kind of, I mean, a lot of people do, but Lisa doesn't want to spend the money on it. She thinks that we only use it a couple times a year. I We like to sleep with air conditioning, so we have one in our bedroom, but otherwise we just keep the windows open. But it's nice to have spring and summer here, almost summer. And very happy to announce we're very close to publishing Awakening Mind's second film, The Mind Unveiled. I mean, I'm hoping you're gonna love it. I love it, and it's really fantastic. It's a really, really good teaching tool. I feel it's gonna really support a lot of people in their awakening. It has a huge cast. I think we have about 10 people in it, and some of you have generously donated to make that possible. And the crowdfunding that we have has made that possible. It's just really a thrill to see it come to completion. We're just sending it out to the cast this week and the next 2 days to give their review before we publish it. But I'm really happy about it, and I think you will be too. And let's look at saying 24. We'll probably go 24 to 30 if we make it that far. And if you are interested in reading 24, please raise your hand and just we'll get started on it. Hi, Dr. DR. I keep thinking you're Dr. Jude. Hi, Jude.
Call from Oakland, MA. Oh, hi, Bill.
Hi.
My phone's ringing.
Welcome.
Excuse me a minute. I'll disconnect it.
Okay.
Here we go. No, DR is for Diana Rushchick, but I like to say Divine Radiance.
Oh yeah. Well, that's even
Higher.
yeah, that's up there with PhD.
Above and beyond. Thank you, dear. Okay, here we go. The Gospel according to Thomas. His disciples said to him, quote, "Show us the place where you are, since it is necessary for us to seek it." Unquote. He said to them, quote, "Whoever has ears, let them hear. There is a light within a man of light, and he lights up the whole world. If he does not shine, he is in darkness." Unquote.
Thank you. And Cameron's, would you read that also, please? You still with us? Can you hear me, Jude?
Oh, yes. Shall I
Yeah.
read the second part?
Yes. Thank you.
The disciples ask, quote, "Where is this place of truth where you stand?" Unquote. When Jesus says to them, quote, "Whoever has ears, let him hear," he means abandon your beliefs and preconceived ideas and be open to the possibility that what I am telling you is true. Unquote. Then, in answer to their question, he tells them, There is light within, a man of light, unquote. In other words, his instruction is to follow the light to find the truth they seek. For light, we could also say bliss or happiness. So the instruction is to follow light, bliss, or happiness to find truth.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like his interpretation of several of these. A lot of them, really. Do you have anything that you would like to add to that?
Me? Just forget myself to remember better and consistently and constantly to be mindful of how much of my thinking really is unnecessary. It's idle chatter. And
Yeah.
to be still. The importance of um, the Christ in me is very still. I often repeat that throughout the day. Um, and um, that, goes with the abandon my beliefs and preconceived ideas, abandon my judgments, my interpretations,
Mm,
my distortions through my personal opinions. Um, and that light, I equivocate that with the light of forgiveness. When I hold Christ in my mind, looking through his eyes of vision, his forgiving eyes, his loving eyes. That's how I think of shining the light that's within me, the light of joy and peace and happiness, and shining that light of knowing Christ within us. And then I see him everywhere without. Um, and that works for me. Thank you.
mm. Yeah, good. Yeah, the I like to focus on the light as being um, essentially and fundamentally what what we are, what you are, and that is not an other. It's the thing that I like about this this book and Cameron's interpretation is that he's really pointing to the absolute, uh, uh, and the practices are good. I think they are helpful. The practices of assuming that you are this light. That's what he's saying when he says who he or she. I would add she. He or she who has ears to hear, let them hear. If you have understanding, is what he's saying. You know, you know the self. You know that you are this light, and there is nothing else. So, yeah, thank you for
I,
that.
I equivocate light with understanding as being one and the same. The light in my mind, that God lit my mind with his mind. And that's my understanding of him in my holy relationship. So, I mean, words slice it and dice it up, but it really isn't that way at all.
Yeah,
Thank you.
right. Thank you. Good. All right. Who would like to read 25, please? It's very short. It looks like it's one sentence. Hi, Jan. Welcome.
Good morning. Um, this verse really spoke to me, but probably not for the reason that it does everybody else. But it says, Jesus said, love your brother like your soul, guard him like the pupil of your eye. And Cameron's commentary, our brothers and sisters and we are one. To love one another is to live in this oneness. It's difficult for me sometimes to think of everybody around me as being part of me, that we are one, and therefore I need to treat them as I would want to be treated. That's kind of hard, but I started thinking about the first part of this verse. Guard him like the pupil of your eye. That has special meaning for me because several years ago, I was diagnosed with a disease that was going to eventually make me go blind. And I can remember the shock of it and the grieving for the future losing of my eyesight. I'm a very visual person, and all of the things that I enjoy doing are really visual things. Um, but when I came through that and came out the other side, I thought, I can see just fine now. So I'm just going to thank God every single day for the gift of my eyesight and get the most out of it I can for as long as I can. And so that's how I treat my eyes. And I'm thinking, do the same thing with everything else. Just live in appreciation of everything you have, all the people around you, live in appreciation of them, whether they're loving and kind and gentle or whether they're kind of rasping and you're supposed to learn a lesson from them, but just to treat them with that softness and gentleness that everyone deserves. And that's a little easier for me to understand than to live in oneness with them. It's a little more concrete. So that's what I got out of this.
Good. Thank you. Yeah, the only thing that when I see the use of the word soul, that has so many different meanings for different traditions and teachings. When I read that, I just took it for myself. I reinterpreted love your brother like yourself, like your capital S self, because there's only one self. So love everyone with this same presence that you understand yourself to be. You when you experience, when you rest in awareness, you're resting in self, the no judgment zone, just being and allowing everyone to be doing and being what they are without judgment allows you to love your brother like love, like self, like being. And Cameron says, our brothers and sisters and we are one. So there's really no brothers and sisters. There's only there's the relative experience of things happening, objects of experience. So these things are not, these are just things, these are not our true nature. So you come to a place where everyone is exactly where they're supposed to be, including you. And sometimes that can be a tough one. That one can be tough when people are doing things that hurt other people. Or if I'm, and hopefully something drops in that allows me to see that and not hurt my brother or my sister, another person that is doing the best they can. Yeah. Thank you, Jan. And Barbara, do you have something to add, or are you wanting to go to 26?
Yeah, I'll go to 26, but I'd like to add something on this that I think for me, and I agree with you with the soul, and I think the way it comes across in a sentence with words, it sounds dual, a lot of duality,
Yeah.
our brothers and sisters, we are one. It's not, there's no oneness, it's just not two for me. And so that makes a difference for me. And when it says to love one another, to me, it's just to in a deeper understanding to realize that we all share the same life, that life is living all of us. That's
Yeah.
the common thing within all of us. Is
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if we're conscious, unconscious, doesn't matter. The whole thing for me is it's life within you, which is huge to just observe that and know that's there, to know that's there in full reality. It
Yeah.
is for me breathtaking,
Mm.
and so yeah, I don't do the love one another thing. I just look at everybody now as if that's life moving around, and I'm in it too. We're all in it, life itself. And that makes it beautiful for me. It doesn't make it threatening to me because that's what we're sharing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And even though those were the words of Jesus or Thomas, it's just like the Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads that became the Bhagavad Gita, that became other teachings and other teachings. I think we're evolving, and we're able to refine some of the statements that were said that were the highest truth at the time. We can really understand, oh, well, there's a little deeper way to see this.
Mhm. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So would you want to read 24?
Sure. Is anybody else got anything to say, or should I go
I,
on?
I saw another hand up, but it went back down. Who was that? Did you have something else to say? Was that, oh, was it Jude? It was Jude. Was it you, Jude?
Yeah, it's me again. I love talking about this. I recently read something in the Course in Miracles, and it referred to the one Son of God as God created him as an extension of His mind and His soul, spirit. It used the word sonship, the totality of the sonship, as being our soul, as one soul, one mind. And this idea of guarding him is by through seeing him through the understanding that we are spirit in the light of the spirit, that we are all as one and the same, that what is one and the same in the light of the spirit and in consciousness, in the one mind, the mind of awareness, that at that level of understanding, the sonship is the soul of everything, the totality of creation, like the lady that just shared expressed. It's life itself, creation itself, the totality of the Son ship as one Son of God. And to guard that, to guard it, to me, refers to holding it in my mind and heart as a holy relationship, to guard his peace and to protect his safety and knowledge and helping him understand that, restoring the knowledge of the kingdom of God to the kingdom of God, in other words,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
that we are
Yeah.
one and to love one another is to live in this oneness.
Okay.
Thank you.
Were they in here?
Yes.
Were they in?
Who's talking? Thank you for that. I didn't hear that. I didn't see that in the course where God is referring Son of God or creation as the soul. That's to me, that's higher. That's more closer to oneness. It's all still a lot of dualistic terms. It almost sounds like soul is like Atman in the non-dual understanding. And it's like Barbara is saying that the words are when we add more characters, we're just adding more names to the same one. And yeah, so yeah, for the purposes of this conversation, we can say soul is equals what God is.
Well, I think it's that triunal where the creation manifestation joins with the consciousness and, communicates through the spirit as one. It's sort of, it encapsulates everything as one, form and formless, unmanifest and manifested for me.
Right.
And thank
Right.
you.
So I have an interesting question to ask you, Jude. Who are you prior to creation?
Stillness, quietness, the infinite potentiality. It's where which and where from everything comes. It's it's prior to everything. I mean, that's the priority word there.
I know that's what I asked Alan Cohen that, and he goes, ah,
I
he
was
kind of,
quiet.
yeah, you were quiet. I respect that, and I really love your answer. That's spot on in my mind, and thank you for being put on the spot. Barbara, come on down and read 24 for us, please.
26.
Oh, is it 26? Oh, 26. Oh, sorry.
Did you have your coffee this morning?
No, yeah, too much coffee. My page flipped over on me and I didn't notice.
It's okay. I'm just joking, just pulling your chain there. So
Yeah.
Jesus said, "You see the mote in your brother's eye, but you do not see the beam in your own eye. When you cast the beam out of your own eye, then you will see clearly to cast the mote from your brother's eye." Cameron, we see other people's prejudices, beliefs, and conditioned responses, but fail to see our own. Through investigation of our own thought patterns and unexamined beliefs, we arrive at a clarity of mind. Only then can we help our friends with their investigation. Wow, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the true reflection. I was just saying this to somebody the other day but I kept saying the log in the eye. I couldn't remember what he said, but I remember there was something in the eye, a log,
Right.
whatever.
So
And yeah, who knows, right? But
yeah.
this is true because, when I got to a place in my own personal life where everything crashed, the beautiful thing is that it actually put me up against this wall. And everything I thought others were doing, I realized it was me doing it to myself and letting others influence what I was doing to myself. And so I know that sounds really crazy, but once I understood, this is all from me. It's how I'm viewing the world. So if the world is harmful, then I'll be in a harmful world. If I'm going to be, it is how I use the concepts and precepts of everything I look at and view. Then it took me, of course, further and deeper. And then I understood it was all in beliefs that, wow, that's a big word. I mean, people flip that word around like it's nothing, but if you really delve into that, check your own beliefs. Wow. I took 5 years to look at every single belief I thought I had. And I kept saying, but whose belief is this? Who gave me this belief? Did I take this on or did somebody give it? Who gave it to me? And then I started tearing it all apart. And it was really, it's shaky ground when you start that because hey, you start facing self. And I think it's beautiful when you fall to the knees of yourself and you come up again in yourself and you leave and go nowhere. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing that happens. So yeah, there's a lot in that one. Like, how can I judge someone else? Like, not even judge. It's not even judge. Why should I have an opinion is more the word. Everybody uses this word judge. Take judge out of it and say, why do I have an opinion? There's no opinion necessary. My father, when he raised us, used to say, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, just not everybody wants to hear it. I love that one. Anyway,
Yeah, that's funny. That's
wise.
true though.
How about,
There's a
okay, you agree with,
valuable tool that is in the statement also, that is found in the teaching of the Course in Miracles. When you see the projection in your own mind, you're projecting on your brother. If there's energy on it, it is yours, and it's showing up out there because you don't there. It's an unconscious belief or an unconscious grievance or an unconscious trauma or some kind of a thing that isn't being admitted. So it's being projected out there, and then now you can deal with it. If you see it out there, you can say, oh wow, I thought he or she was guilty. That's really, and I have energy on it. That's mine. I can own that energy from whence it came. I can just allow it to be exactly as it is. And it's not really mine. It's just the way it seems to be. It's not really mine. This can be a tool for release from the energy of that projection. Yeah, it's amazing. The some of the psychological teaching in projections, when you understand them, if you don't make yourself guilty over it, or you don't make yourself like personally responsible, and you attach your identity to that, if you can step away from it and recognize it as your own energy, then that's actually loving your brother as yourself. Yeah. Thank you. Who would read 27 out of 45 of us? 7. I'll read it. Jesus said, oh, did somebody put a hand up? Did I miss that? Okay, I'll go
you
ahead.
can, you can call on me if you want, Bill. I'm
Okay,
always ready.
okay. I'll read this one, Jude. Jesus said, if you do not fast as regards the world, you will not find the kingdom. If you do not observe the Sabbath as a Sabbath, you will not see the Father. And Cameron, this italicized, I have to put my glasses on. If we come to understand that the pursuit of worldly desires does not lead to the lasting happiness we seek, then we need to become wise and act upon that understanding by giving up our addiction to worldly pleasures. This action provides us with the opportunity to observe the Sabbath. In other words, to devote time and energy to that which matters to us most. And I just really condensed all of this down to what's being said in what Jesus said as uh, observing the Sabbath. I I interpreted that as resting in the self, and I interpreted what Cameron said as living and abiding in the self. It's is what's being fasted. It's fasting is living in the self, living in presence, abiding, giving our attention to what Ramana Maharshi would say is abide in the self. And that's pretty much what's being offered here is what I'm getting. And that's maybe a new kind of meditation, a new style of meditation is just being aware and in the no judgment zone. You might use breath awareness as a starting point. You might use eyes closed, eyes open, doesn't matter. You're just being alert and aware and allowing presence to envelop you. And what I've found is that it brings on that these experience of allowing and happiness and bliss or whatever. You can just be happy where you are with what's happening. Hi, Angelina, with the hand up. Would you like to add to that?
Hi.
Hi.
Um, well, it reminds me from that part in the Bible that it talks about the Sabbath, about healing on Sabbath. And because the religious people then they looked at it like, oh, how dare you heal on the Sabbath day? Because that's kind of like going against the law, really, of the religion. And I think Jesus says that the Sabbath was given to the man and not man to the Sabbath, something like that. And I think, well, I can see this kind of related that like often people start give importance to the spiritual practice and make it into the goal, fulfilling the practice. Like they make the meditation into, oh, keeping the Sabbath. It's not just in Judaism, it's in every religion. You see that.
Yeah.
And then they forget what's the real purpose. The real purpose is not the practice. The real purpose is, like you said, being in the self, which the practice is meant to help to, get us to be in this I am self-awareness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you for adding that. That's the important that's where we turn things into a ritual. The thing that we're attempting to use a, a a a tool or an idea to open something up. We have to throw the tool away, be finished with the thing that brings us to that experience, and it becomes so it doesn't become a ritual. Yeah. Thank you for adding that. And Jude, you have something to share from that?
Yes, I just love in the last line where he says devote time and energy. And as far as I'm concerned, I think there's no better way to devote my time and energy than to devote my mind as an altar or the chapel of God, that I maintain my peace and serenity. And that's an ongoing daily thing. Like you said, it's like living in prayer, that prayer of peace and joy and happiness being itself within me, that it's not a place I need to go to or a thing I need to do. It's a way of just being, being and I when I underline that last line, I put to capital that which matters to us the most. To capital that I am that. So that's just the way
Right.
I see it. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Jude. All right. We have 28. Who would like to read 28? Is that also you, Jude, or is your hand up from the last one?
No,
Okay.
that I'm gonna let someone else have a turn. Thank you.
Okay. Who would read 28, please? Jump on in. Don't be bashful. Hi, Kim. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Jesus said, I took my place in the midst of the world and I appeared to them in flesh. I found all of them intoxicated. I found none of them thirsty. And my soul became afflicted for the sons of men, because they are blind in their hearts and do not have sight. For empty they came into the world, and empty too they seek to leave the world. But for the moment they are intoxicated. When they shake off their wine, then they will repent. Cameron's comment: Jesus found people fully engaged in the dream of worldly existence, driven by fears and desires, living blindly, without even the recognition of their true heart's desire. He saw that until they looked beyond the world of objects for the happiness they sought, they would be destined to a life of separation and suffering. Still, he held out the hope that the day would come when they would look beyond this apparent reality and develop a thirst for truth. I think that's pretty straightforward. And the only comment I have is, I remember learning, I learned when I learned French, there's a verb, penser is to think, and to repent is to rethink, or as the Course in Miracles would say, to have a change in perception.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say it's super clear also. And again, he used the word soul, so we don't need to redefine that. He used it in a different way in this one, but I think we covered that. And where he was talking about intoxicated, I would call that like most of the world is living in as the dreamer of the dream. And that would be the term, maybe asleep, and awake or awakening would be someone that's interested in these matters, that begins to say, what's going on here? And begin to open the mind and heart for with a curiousness, and that intoxication becomes like the dreamer that awakens, so to speak. And then, of course, we're looking for the teachings of in the day. You had a great teacher, or in from the East, or even a more metaphysical teaching of the Bible. If you had the true teaching of it like this, you would learn what shaking off their addictions or the wine really means.
Yes. I'm reminded of the sort of trendy phrase these days of shiny things. Very easy to get distracted by so many shiny things.
Yeah. Yeah. And shiny things means everything. Yeah. Well, thank you,
Thank
Kim.
you.
And we'll move to 29. Hi, Barbara. Would you read 29, or is this for 28?
Yeah, I'll read 29. 28, though, I think if you look at that whole thing, that's today. So when people tell me, oh, we've evolved so much spiritually, like, seriously?
Right. Yeah,
I
you're
just
right.
don't
It
see it.
is.
I don't
You
see
could
it. What I
timestamp
see
that
is me.
2025.
Yeah. Like it always, like, it's always been that way. And can we live with it being that way? I can. That's why I don't get attached or engaged in a lot of things, because this is how it looks. Now, and remember too, I think I sent you a film on it. It was The Missing Years of Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I watched
So
it.
it shows the trade route that his family followed.
Yeah.
They would have to follow. They wouldn't just go out into the desert. So they followed that. And he spent a lot of time, and he's well known in India, in Tibet, and these places as the enlightened one.
Yeah, as Isa.
And then there was this clash and so can you imagine him coming from Atma and Brahmas and different people from India, and different, because he studied under that.
Yes.
So the history is showing if he went this route, that's what would have happened. So now he comes back to Judea and and Israel or Bethlehem, whatever. He comes back and he starts talking like self-realization
Mm-hmm.
in a religious, that's like somebody walking in the middle of a Catholic church and start talking this. I mean, he would look like he had three heads.
Yep.
Right. And so
Yes.
I always remember that. And so I get why to him coming into this, he's coming in like if you were in India, like you when you go to the retreats with Muji, and then you come back to the city, it's got to look like this still.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
It is.
It's this is a timestamp for 2024. Still the same thing happens.
It happened in Noah's time when he built the ark.
Right. Yeah.
Adam's time when Cain hit Abel. It's always been there. And it's for us to see that that's just the world.
Yeah.
The world of what it does. I don't know, Anyway, so we'll go into 29, but I just thought I'd say that this is not, I don't believe we are evolving. If we were evolving, there'd be less wars, there'd be less of everything. There isn't. So we're in this to live this through self, through spirit, through who we truly are, our true nature. That's all. It's not like we're going to save anything.
It's interesting that you say that because I feel that we are evolving. I feel that there is consciousness is remembering in relatively speaking, it's having an effect on a great number of beings that are having this individuation experience of the one consciousness that is awakening, because there's so many of us that are right here having this experience. There are millions of people that visit ashrams and that follow A Course in Miracles and follow the non-dual teaching. We didn't 50 years ago. This wasn't so. And so in my mind, is the world still doing the same thing as 2,000 or 5,000 years ago? Yes. However, I feel that consciousness is waking itself up to this to humanity that is prepared to awaken, to realize itself, just what we're doing right here. So how can
But if
that
we're
not be?
realizing ourselves, that's all we have to do.
Pardon me?
I say if we're realizing ourself
Yes.
within us,
Yes.
then that is what we're here. That's our purpose. That's our existence, is our purpose. So
Exactly.
what I'm saying is there's more population. There's more, yes, I would say technology has evolved to reach more people. But the thing is, it's only one thing happening. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Where's the evolve? It doesn't need to evolve. That's the whole thing. It just needs to be. It doesn't need movement like that. For me, it's just be. And why does it need to evolve? It is everything. It is totality.
Right. In a relative sense, Bill needs something to do.
Yes. There we go. Now we're getting into Bill. Yeah.
Bill needs something to do, and this is a pull that feels it has my interest.
Yeah, so it pulls us into concepts, ideas, and yeah, I call it the dog and pony show. It's got to keep us busy. Barb busy. The trueness of us doesn't need to be all that. It just isn't. It doesn't need it. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm comfortable in knowing that, and it's my safe place to fall back into, as Francis would say, Lucille or Rupert would say, stepping back, and knowing that it is you. itself. And so there's no complications, there's no confusion. For me,
exactly.
I'm just saying that's for me.
Yeah, right. I agree. Yeah, thank you.
And so 29 is it still to go on, or?
Yeah, just
Sorry.
we'll pick Jude up. We'll pick up your hand after we read 29, please. Go ahead.
So Jesus said, if the flesh came into being because of spirit, it is a wonder. But if spirit came into being because of the body, it is a wonder of wonders. Indeed, I am amazed at how this great wealth has made its home in this poverty. Consciousness, God, gave rise to the universe and all beings. This in itself is remarkable. What is absurd, a wonder of wonders, is to imagine that this fleshly fragment gave rise to consciousness. God, indeed, Jesus is amazed that consciousness manifests itself in man.
It is amazing that consciousness would make itself into this. That is amazing. Bill's grateful that it's happening because he has some really cool experiences and gets to partake of a lot of cool things. But it is amazing that consciousness decided to do this to itself. Yeah. And when you watch this next documentary that's coming out, oh my God, we went to the Netherlands and interviewed Bernardo Kastrup, and
He's great.
he nails it. He really did. I mean, he gives it a very high level of clarity as a scientist, a philosopher, and someone that really understands how consciousness works and the empirical evidence in study. It's just brilliant. So we'll see this played out just a little bit in that film. So thank you. Appreciate that. Hi, Linda, before I go to you, Jude had her hand up. Do you still have your hand up, Jude? Do you still have a comment from the last?
No, I'll hold it. Thank you, Bill.
Okay, thanks. Hi, Linda.
Hi there. I just wanted to add something about verse 29. To me, this is that entire conversation that Rupert has had and Deepak Chopra about the hard problem of consciousness. This is it right here.
Yes.
And it's written kind of funny. It's almost written tongue in cheek, like Jesus is making kind of a joke. He says, like, indeed, I am amazed. And that this could even be misinterpreted. And he uses the word amazed, which we might think is, oh, wow, I'm amazed. But it's kind of like, I'm shocked.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
This shows, I mean, I don't, who knows what the real interpretation is, but my interpretation is he's being a little bit sarcastic.
Yes. Yes. I think you picked up on that, Linda. That sounds right. It is the hard problem of consciousness. Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank
Mhm.
you. Yeah. Great. Let's see. The hard problem of consciousness for people that don't know what that is, just real quick. The hard problem of consciousness is science for a long time and still today believes that matter came first and then consciousness rose out of matter. And somehow that makes sense to the old science. And according to some scientists like Donald Hoffman and Bernardo, that is an old paradigm. There's a new model that's being presented, and they're very close to having really. This is what Bernardo says in the film, that they're very close to having empirical evidence that really does give I won't use the word prove because I've learned from the scientists that we interview that they don't use that term. They don't prove anything. Their job is to always be looking deeper into what they think empirical evidence is showing to see if there's more. And so they don't prove anything. And but that's where this is the hard problem of consciousness is being busted, I think. Yeah. So we're on 30. Yeah, if someone would like to, or Jude, you still have your mic open. Do you want to add something to the previous 29 or
Yes, I really do because, Bill, I've been studying the course for well over 20 years, and this is something that I think students of the course have real difficulty to know and understand that I'm a figment of my own imagination. This body manifests from the mind, that I am purely mind, and one with my source. And that, I may not understand that, but that's what the course teaches, that we are purely mind, and that everything is an idea in the mind of God, and that thought manifests, and that the world as we know it was a misperception. And that's why so much of it is so unlike what we imagine ourselves to be in truth. We know ourselves to be in truth. That it says how this great wealth has made its home in this poverty. That we come into the world, we believe that we're a body, we believe that we are a thing of our own making, and we deny that we're created by God. So that's what the poverty is. We come in, the ego is in a state of lack, of scarcity, of poverty, and it seeks outside itself and never finds anything. And that's what the last two sayings, I think, refer to. If you don't fast from seeking outside of yourself, you'll never know what the kingdom is. And things of the world blind us because we're perceiving through an image, and images in perception do not know the truth of who and what they are. And it's really a cluster F.
right? Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's really a huge kind of an understanding. And so the words amazed and wonder at wonders, these are very important and primary kind of words to my understanding with a capital
Right.
U. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jude. Well, there are contradictions in the non-dual and A Course in Miracles. There are clearly contradictions on the premise of the ideas that are presented in the non-dual term as consciousness is pure, is just presence, the absolute just presence in the non-dual. In A Course in Miracles, it's the ego. So you have to get you have to you have to you have to recognize that in the Course in Miracles, when it uses the term consciousness, it's talking about the mind that that thinks that it's separate. In the non-dual, it's not the mind that thinks that it's separate; it's the absolute. And so I've been having conversations about this with Robert Perry, the Circle of Atonement, and we're going to have a conversation, a public conversation with Robert Perry and Emily, Lisa and I, and we're going to talk about these two traditions and do they have harmony or do they contradict? And I think they have both. I think they have harmony and I think they contradict. And you have to take what works and leave the rest. Because if there's energy on some of it, then you'll lose yourself in the energy. And we're gonna sort of break that down in July. We have a tentative schedule to have a 2 hour conversation about these two teachings and how do they fit? How can a Course in Miracles student hear these things and have clarity? And of course, most of the non-dual students that really understand, they don't even they don't even go to the course because it just has too many words, too many entities, too many moving parts. And we're trying to help course students understand their absolute oneness and their beingness with no opposite or other. And we're trying to allow the non-dual community to recognize this is why course students come up against with questions and walls often in the non-dual understanding, and it helps them to have clarity there. And then one other thing that I think is of the utmost importance is that if you don't have a non-dual understanding, if you don't have the understanding that you are absolutely what God is, knowing as your being, and there is no other. If you don't have that, you don't have your awakening experience. You don't know the self. You live in concepts, and that's what I and how do I know that? Because that's where I live. That's where Lisa lived. That's why we want to share this with the course communities and also with Robert Perry, because he comes from that place where the individual personhood is important, and we want to have that open dialogue with him. So thank you, Jude, for your comments on that. I hope we can clear that up in July for a lot of people. And we have about 3 minutes left. I think we have time to read 30. Would anyone like to read 30? Linda.
Yeah, this is a pretty quick one. Jesus said, where there are three gods, they are gods. Where there are two or one, I am with him. And Cameron gives us his commentary. I suspect a mistranslation. Where there are three gods, they are gods. Where there are one, or excuse me, where the two are one, I am with him. Let me read that again. Where there are three gods, they are gods. Where the two are one, I am with him. The interpretation of the alternative translation would be, Jesus does not deny the possibility of a multiplicity of deities. However, they are of no interest to him. His focus is solely upon the non-dual oneness which underpins all creation. Yeah, so I agree. This is a great translation that he gives us.
Yeah.
And it's pretty self-explanatory. This is about non-duality. There's no separation. The two are one.
Yeah.
Non-dual. There's not two.
Right. Yeah. And it's okay for deities. It's okay for gods. It's okay for, I love Hinduism and all the cool stories, and there's some cool and there's some kind of cruel stories in the Bible, the Old Testament especially. But yeah, I agree that Cameron picked up on probably a mistake in the translation, and I think there's a lot of mistakes historically in writings that are not consistent with a non-dual teaching, that are not consistent with and also there are mistakes that are made in dualistic teaching that are, they just don't make sense. Thank you, Linda.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Angelina. You have your hand up. No, Linda had her hand up. Linda, I didn't mean to skip you. Okay, Angelina. There you go.
just a small, something small. Yeah, I agree with the mistranslation, but just if I follow it, I can like see it as like where the two are one is like in a meaning of the two, like God and the Son of God, you could say, are one, when there's no separation between us and between gods. Like when gods are somewhere outside of us, then they are just gods. But when the Son of God and God are one, then I'm with him. Then I'm, like you said, like like God.
Okay. That that has a that has an interesting add-on that allows it to come in, right? Does that allows the translation, the other translation to come in?
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So it works both ways. Either that's a mistake or there's a different translation that isn't
Oh,
recognized.
I agree with him that it looks like a mistake. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just giving like a different angle to the where the two are one. I'm with him.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Right. And the I that's with him is 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 consciousness. It's not really Jesus, even though the words are coming out of his mouth. When he says, I am, he's not saying the person. He's not speaking. He's speaking as consciousness.
Yeah, or as the Christ, as the Son of
Yeah,
God. Yeah.
right. Exactly. Exactly. Well, this has been a good, we made it to 30. We'll start on 31 next week. And thank you all for being here. This has been awesome. And I'll see you next week, or at 3 o'clock. I do the practicing presence in Evolve. Thanks for being here.